Hey there, let's do another little intro patch here. I've already got some of these laid out, so I want to talk, maybe show a little bit more this other VCO, which is WT VCO, which stands for Wave Table. So instead of, so in the original one that we used, just VCO, we had sine, triangle, sawtooth, or square waves output. And one thing that the wavetable VCO can do is there's a knob here that kind of morphs between those. So that's a sine wave, and then a triangle, and then morphs to a sawtooth, and then a square. But we can control the kind of morphing between those in a really cool way. Then also using this octave module to boost a V-oct signal up or down by 1 volt, which would be like 1 octave ranges to have maybe a voice with 2 different octaves in it. And then using an LFO to add a little vibrato effect. So when the frequency kind of like kind of vibrates like that. So using this through the FM input to add the vibrato. And then a mix, so envelope that will open up inputs to a mixer. That's where we'll get our 2 voices, and then kind of finishing off with a low pass filter. So let's hook this up. So let's do just to copy this. I'm going to do a command, copy that, and let's say my second one I want to be an octave lower. So we'll do that right there. Let's hear what this sounds like. So I'm going to do for audio. I usually just keep it orange while I'm kind of in the middle of the whole chain here. So I'm going to put these into channels 1 and 2 on my mixer, and then outputs, let's just go into that, and I'll bring that down for a second, and let's go ahead and whatever, let's do like red for there. Okay. Just kind of drone. But what if, so let's maybe add the little vibrato first, and then we can deal with the envelope. So I showed before by inputting into this FM here, so this stands for frequency modulation. Let's see what I've got going with my LFO here. Okay, so this LFO by default is unipolar. So let's do, oh, here we go. Okay. Unipolar, bipolar on this offset thing here. So we see what's happening here. So unipolar means it's going to stay positive. So it's going from 0 to 10 volts. If I do bipolar, it's going to go positive 5 down to negative 5. So that matters because we can imagine as we plug this into our frequency modulation, let's do that again. Hello. A value of 0 is going to change the frequency of my VCO, like not at all. Positive value is going to make it higher. Negative value is going to make it lower. If this is going around 0, then we kind of keep a central, like whatever this frequency is, which would be middle C, right? That's going to remain a kind of the middle of the range of my oscillation. If my LFO is unipolar, so we can imagine when that is 0, that I'm still kind of like sticking to this middle C, but then this will go all the way up plus 10 volts, which would be like 10 extra octaves, which will make our VCO sound like super, super duper high, right? So I'm going to make this bipolar. So we're kind of keeping this 0 point right here will be oscillating around our middle C. And then by changing this attenuator here, we make the LFO stronger or weaker in affecting the frequency. So let's just find out how this sounds here. So I'm going to bring this up a little bit. Maybe do it to both. So I feel like that it's too extreme because what I really want, I'm trying to get this like as really low, but because my LFO range is quite high, so whenever we're dealing with this 1V per octave modulation, right? My LFO has a range of 10 volts, -5 to +5, which means it has a range of 10 octaves, right? If I were to like open this all the way up, then that makes my VCO sweep through a range of 10 octaves. If I had it at like 10%, so it should only be like sweeping through a range of maybe 1 octave. But really, I want it to be like really subtle, just a kind of light little vibrato. So maybe even, with that, I'm going to bring down so we don't even hear the second one. I just want to focus on the vibrato of just this one VCO. Let's see a little bit more here. It's more of like laser. Maybe I can like right click and just type in 1%. I feel like it's, I'm getting down to like 0.5% here. It's just, I want a more subtle effect. So I think to start with, my LFO range is too high. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get a VCA. So VCA just, stands for voltage controlled amplifier. So what we've done in the past, this is essentially what this mix is right here. So there's 4 different VCAs, and I could affect the gain by this. Same thing with this. I can kind of bring this down or up. So you think of this like it's a volume knob, which it could be, but also I'm going to use this to just attenuate my signal. So let's do, actually, you know what? I'll make this a different color so we can see. Input 2. So now we see both of them. Let's say I bring this down. If this was, let's say, 50%. So now we can see, so the purple one is this one post VCA. So it's already kind of shrinking it down. I'm going to go ahead and do maybe 10% on this. So now it's only going, what is it doing? Like positive 0.5 volts, negative 0.5 volts. Okay, so maybe using this instead is going to give a little bit more. Then I have, even if I go all the way up to 100% on this one, it's only going to be this high. So I have a little bit more subtle detail that I can really tune it into exactly the right percentage there. Let's see. Adding this other one here. So that's kind of cool too if you're like changing the position. A little too drony for you? I don't know. Okay, let's do... I'm going to play around with this WT position in a minute. Let's go ahead and add our envelope, which will respond to our key coming in here. So as I press the key, I want to trigger the envelope, which will come in here, and I can hook this up to CV. So this now is, and I did this before with just VCA, right? So like maybe this will be going in here, and that goes in like that. So then the envelope triggers that. This is doing the exact same thing into this. We just have like 4 in a row, and instead of, I could like duplicate this to be 4, and this would behave in exactly the same way. the VCA mix is just a way to save some space. Okay, so instead of doing this manually, I can hook up gate. You know, I like to kind of keep the colors different, so let's do blue for those, because I usually do purple for gate. That's just the way I roll. Okay, so now every time I press the key, not only is my V-oct signal changing the pitch, the gate turns, you can see right here, gate says 10 volts, I release, it says 0, so it's like an on or off thing. That triggers the envelope. So sustain stays there as long as I hold the key down. When I release, then it triggers the release phase here. So I release, bop, and then it takes 100 milliseconds to release. So, and then this affects that. All right, let's see what happens here. And then maybe play with sharper attack. Long attack. So if sustain is all the way down, so if I hold the key down, then even though I'm holding it down, the plateau is 0, so we don't hear anything. So really all we hear is the attack phase and the decay phase, and by the time it gets to sustain, there's nothing to release because it's already at 0. So this, if you want like a really percussive, plucky sort of sound, the normally sustain would be down lower. And if you want more of a firmer, sustained sound, keep that up. So if this was, let's say, like all the way down, so it's going to have like a 1 millisecond attack, 1 millisecond release, and maybe 50% sustain. Decay it takes, you know, about 200 milliseconds to go from the top down to the sustain level. Okay, cool. I think I'm kind of liking that little vibrato. And we have some kind of layering here. So this one's just at C4, this octave. This one is at an octave above, because I kind of hit this here. What if I did a little bit lower? Let's see. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm liking that. We can modulate everything. So typically in modular, like all of these parameters, you know, imagine in like it's Touch Designer, we have chops, which doing chop references all over the place. The key to making a sound that's really like lively, that's kind of moving around, is to just add a little bit of randomness all over the place. So what I'm going to do, I've got this wavetable position input right here that we can modulate this knob right here instead of doing it manually. So I'm going to get, shall we get a random maybe? Yeah, let's do the random. Okay, where's the random? Where'd you go? Here we go. You can put it wherever you want, but maybe I'm like looking at my arrangement here. Okay, that's pretty good. I'll just that right here. So let me see. Maybe now I'll just take a look at what these different types of random. Okay, so let's actually see what this random is doing here. So smooth, and by changing this, you know, by the way, this scope is not changing the signal at all. Like when I'm changing these knobs and things, it's only changing the visualizer. Okay, so we see, this looks like a nice little sparse noise coming from our noise chop, right? What are these other ones? So that's exponential. That's linear, right? So not smooth at all. It's more like and then stepped, more of a quantized levels there. So smooth is cool. I like that. And we can also make this bipolar or unipolar. So unipolar would just go 0 to 10. Bipolar, -5 to +5. That's fine. And play around with these other kind of shapes. Right? Oh, that one's like super stepped, right? So what I want to do, I want to use this to affect the wavetable position. Maybe let's make it a little bit slower. Make the range pretty high. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to kind of put this in the middle because I've got a bipolar signal here. So positive voltage here is going to be as if this is moving to the right. Negative voltage down here is going to be as if it's like moving it to the left. So let's put this here. And it's not actually affecting it yet until I also increase the attenuator. So I'll put that up a little bit, and maybe just for fun, let me do, because what does the exponential look like? Oops. It looks well, it's a little bit different, not too much. What if I did step? Just to get slightly different values. Yeah, it's about the same. Maybe for this one, I'll just do linear and just kind of see how that goes. So I'll do linear over to this second one. And also, so by switching the attenuator to this negative position here, actually, you know what? Maybe I can do the same smooth here, and we can see what the difference is. So by putting it to the negative, then it kind of inverts the two control voltages. So let's say if this is positive right here, I flip this to like a negative thing. So even though this is positive, it's going to be as if this is going to the left then, right? So it kind of inverts what the control voltage does to that. So that's fine, whatever. All right, let's listen. So we kind of see that this is moving that shape around. You know what? Let's be crazy here. Let's also, with the same random, we're going to affect the frequency of the LFO, which is affecting like how fast our vibrato sounds. So open this up just a little bit. So it's going to make the vibrato kind of faster and slower. Oh, that's cool. A little bit of like a vaporwave thing going maybe with the kind of wobbly vibrato thing. Okay, that's good for this one. Just more just basic fundamental things, like all kinds of ways you could piece these things together. I didn't even play with the VCF really, but we could imagine maybe one other common trick. So with this cut, I could add any other type of modulation to that also. We could use the ADSR though. What if I hooked also that up to the cut? So with the ADSR, every time I hit this, we can, let's just see this here. Right, so the ADSR is going up to 10 volts, and then according to like the ADSR settings here, where it's going up and then down, that now is changing the cutoff also, right? So sending the cutoff all the way to the right and then kind of down a little bit. Let's do something like this.